Real native, never been a fake. Hey, much love, y'all. I just want to go over the history of the American Indians by James Adair. In the book, he has 23 arguments of the similarities between the Hebrew Israelites and the Native American tribes he encountered, which were the Katahba Nation, Cherokee Nation, Muskogee Nation, Choctaw Nation, and Chickasaw Nation. So the first argument is the Israelites were divided into tribes and had chiefs over them, and that as natives we have the same structure. And that's one thing that led me to this knowledge, is because I started reading the Bible and noticing that the government that was utilized by the tribes is the same thing that we were always taught growing up. We had chiefs appointed to be in service of the people. Second argument is that these tribes, he noticed, were using Yahuwah. And even if you look towards the bottom, there's a word for father, and it's Ishtohola Abba. And Ishtar, I think, is like a man or woman in the scripture, and Abba is obviously father, And so there's obvious similarities between the languages to this day, even with all the other tribes, even on the West Coast.
It is good that you have turned your thoughts to the Cherokee. It was caused by Yahuwah.
In the third argument, he's explaining how the natives are very intoxicated with religious pride from his perspective. And the tribes over there called themselves the beloved people, but they called the other nations the accursed people. And what you got to notice is that this is the similar thinking of the scripture. The Israelites weren't very kind, and they didn't think very nicely of the non-Israelite kingdoms. And that's the same attitude that natives have to this day. The fourth argument is that Israelites believed in the ministration of angels, and as natives we have ceremonies all the time invoking spirits, which in Navajo and according to the book, to the eastern tribes is the holy people, invocation of the holy people. And I struggled with that for a while, but I realized these are the angels of Yah, and we are invoking a spiritual warfare and looking to win and praise Yahweh in our songs, in the midst of all that. And it's all about praise. So that's another great argument. The fifth argument is the native language and dialects have the very idiom and genius of the Hebrew. It's talking about how the languages go from left to right, and the way the language is spoken is different. Like if I were to say, I'm going over there in English, I would pretty much say it backwards in the Hebrew language and also in the native tongue. Also, native and Hebrew way of thinking is very circular, as opposed to the American or Roman way of thinking, which is very linear in history and in spirituality. The sixth argument is that the calendar is very similar to that of the Hebrews from the natives, and even the festivities and just the appointed times of the year are very similar to that of the lost tribes. The seventh argument is that the spiritual structure of the native tribes resembles that of the Israelite tribes. The eighth argument is that the festivals celebrated by the Israelites are the same festivals that are celebrated by many of the tribes. Next argument is that the tribes, Israelites, were very sacrificial and sacrificed daily, in that he witnessed the tribes, throwing fat into the fire or sacrificing certain items of the animal. And I've witnessed similar acts here too on the res. The 10th argument was interesting to me because he was kind of, mocking them a little bit on their frequent bathing, because they always went to the river to cleanse themselves. And I guess it was almost like a purification, that similar to baptism. And he claims that they would come out in the morning saying, yo, hewa, and they're praising the Most High in the morning and giving blessings to him. Another argument is that the natives had customs regarding uncleanness that were similar to Mosaic law, and even the times of a woman's monthly period. There was times of retreat, and Old Testament has similar way of thinking. 12th argument claims that a large majority of the natives then were not partaking in anything considered unclean, and that's also things like, eating pork or just any acts of uncleanness. So this 13th argument was really interesting to me because it talks about how the laws of adultery and marriage are all the same as the Hebrew Israelites, and how he witnessed the cutting off of ears and the cutting off of the upper lip from native women, and that had committed adultery, and those same testaments are also seen all over the Old Testament. Another interesting aspect is that the natives ridiculed white people for only having one wife at a time, and the Israelites obviously practiced polygyny in the Old Testament, and the natives still were and still are. And I've even heard this testaments from Navajos. Honestly, I've heard great grandpas and my grandpa's grandpa, that they had 4 wives and this and that, but no one likes to talk about that kind of thing. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I thought that was interesting. The next argument talks about how the native punishments were the same as the ancient Jews, because it was like a hand for a hand type thing, and he witnessed, those stealing or those committing any kind of acts, they would lose their bodily members just like those in the Old Testament. Another argument is the natives had cities of refuge for those who were in distress, just like the Israelites. This next argument reigns so true because it says before the natives would go to war, they would have to do purification ceremonies like fasting or even like sweat lodge, and that's similar to Israelite way of war. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, growing up, I always heard Christian music and thought to myself, are we really about to sing these songs before we go to war? I don't think so. I always imagine all of us out there with the drums, like the native, we're out like a powwow. We're singing songs, powerful songs to the Most High, to empower our spirits before we go to battle, And that's exactly what the Israelites did, and that's what we still do to this day. We will sing war songs before we go to war. This next argument is talking about how the Israelites were fond of wearing beads and other ornaments, and natives to this day, we take maybe a little bit too much pride in the jewelry we wear, and also, how obviously the fringes, the Israelites were instructed to wear fringes, and natives, we still wear fringes. And he's talking about the tinkling ornaments, about like, the jingle dresses that the ladies, they do the jingle dance at the powwows. That's the same thing that was written in the Old Testament, so there it is. I'm so glad this one came up because it says the manner of the native healing is the same as the Israelite healing. And because I've noticed this, man, because we get sick from the American way methods of healing, because it's not healing, it's continual sickness and profiting off of sickness. Whereas opposed to the native and the Israelite way, which is one and the same, is that it's preventative. You live life spiritually, and all the aspects of your life live harmoniously like music. And we know that our body can heal itself from cancer. Saying everything that is permanent, that's a lie. The ancient wisdom is that the healing is in the herbs, and that's all we practice today in native healing. We're not even supposed to cut into our skin. And it says in the Bible, life is in the blood. All those same teachings are in our culture. This argument is interesting because it says the Hebrew have always been cautious of the way that they buried their dead. And I've noticed this growing up in Navajo, how, it says in the scripture, after you touch someone, you're unclean for 3 days. And that same thing goes for Navajo. Like, we're not even supposed to be looking at the body. A lot of the kids aren't even supposed to be going to the funerals. Like, that's a cultural thing. That's the same exact way I don't know if it's the exact way, but it's very similar to the Hebrew way of thinking around ceremonies. That it's just a select few men, who go out and deal with this. So the 20th and the 21st argument are basically about the grievement stages of the native tribes. When a woman lost her husband in war, her brother, the brother of that man, was to marry and to raise his brother's seed up, and so that his name will not be wiped from the land. And he witnessed that firsthand from the tribes. The 22nd argument, he's talking about how the natives give names to their children the same way that the Hebrews did. It's very similar, and it's the same the way I grew up. The names are usually given. They're very descriptive, usually after nature or after the behavior of the child. The last argument is that the oral tradition of the natives of how they migrated to the land is similar to the Bible. And also, growing up, I was told that we came from the East. They try to tell us we came from the Bering Strait, but oral tradition, native tradition is that we came from the East, at least from the tribe I grew up in. So there it is, y'all. That's the 23 arguments that James Adair makes, written in the 1700s. Make sure you guys go check it out. Maybe you can get the PDF if you want it. If you made it this far in the video, make sure you subscribe so that way more of our brothers and sisters could find the channel. So I love y'all. Stay blessed, and continue to look out for more videos of the future. Make sure you go check out that video I made of the giants, the stories of the giants that I was told growing up, and native in the native way, and it's also the same as the Bible. So make sure you guys go check out that video and stay blessed. Love y'all. Peace.